Once a friend of mine was going to introduce me to somebody that was there, and he said, "This is Bob's. She's the mother of the two most beautiful kids I have ever seen in my whole life." I just got the news that that friend of mine made the transition. He passed away. He went back to the astral realm. He went back from the exilium where we are here all, and went back to where we all are going to go back, because we are eternal spirits living an experience here on earth. So I want to dedicate this video to you, Shlomo, with all my heart. I hope you make a good transition. Now, in this video, I'm going to share the story of Moses. Moses is one of the fathers of the monotheism. He's the father of the Catholics, the Protestants, the Jewish. He is one of the pillars of the Hebrews. But the stories that I'm about to share are a little bit different than you know, because they're not based on the Torah or on the Bible. They are based in some other esoteric knowledge. Before Gutenberg came with reading books, the oral was the way that the people used to tell stories and keep stories, telling them one to another. And so let's jump into it. The first version is that the Pharaoh's daughter, one of his daughters, the Pharaohs used to have like 100 kids. They used to get married to their sister or their cousins, or many sisters and many cousins. They used to have like 10 wives and 100 kids. And one of the Pharaoh's daughter wanted to have her sculpture. Remember that back then, you wouldn't make a book of yourself, you wouldn't make selfies, you wouldn't make pictures, you wouldn't make paintings. What did they do? People that had money, they would hire artists to sculpture their faces. And so she did. The Pharaoh's daughter hired an artist, the best artist of her time and where she was, and he was a Jewish man. He was an Hebrew. Most of the Jewish people back then in Egypt, they were slaves, but not this one. He was an artist. So she brought him home and he began to work in her sculpture and make his art. And you don't make that in a minute. It takes days or months. So they get to know themselves a little bit better. And sorry for the noise. I'm here in my veranda next by a busy street. They get to know each other better, and she got pregnant. But there was a problem. First of all, he was married. And second, he was an Hebrew. He was a Jewish. Remember, they were from different castes. She was the daughter of the Pharaoh, of the king. They were not supposed to get married ever, or to have kids, or to have an affair. That was not acceptable. So one of the versions says that then she decided to move to another city and to have the baby there, and she only got back when the baby was already born, saying that she adopted the baby that was actually her own. This is one of the versions. But there is another version that I read in this book. This is from a trilogy, Moisés em Busca da Terra Prometida e Moisés, o Libertador de Israel, and Akhenaton. The author is Roger Bottini Paranhos. He's a Brazilian author, but he is not really, in fact, the author. He was the person who wrote that book, but the true author is a spirit that used his hand. He channeled from Hermes and Nathanael. They are the true authors. He channeled this book. And in this version, it's from Editora do Conhecimento. Stories, there is this other version that, sorry for the noise, that in Egypt back then, there was too many Jewish kids getting born. And when the slaves are in bigger number than the society, there can be a problem, and they can fight. I don't want to be a slave anymore. And when they are in a bigger number, what can you do about it? So the Pharaoh have given the order to every baby born from that moment on that was a boy should be sacrificed. So this Jewish mother had already 2 kids, and she had a 3rd baby, and she knew that the destiny of this baby was to be killed. And in order to avoid that, what did she do? She decided before this event that she would give the baby away in a way that the baby would survive. What did she do? She waited in the river, by the river, where that she knew that the Pharaoh's daughter would come every single day to bathe. And she positioned herself a little above the river where the waters would flow. And she put the baby in a basket. And she would leave the baby there and be sure that the baby was going to be found by the Pharaoh's daughter. And she was in hope that she would keep the baby for herself. And so she did. She put the baby in the basket, and she let the baby flow in the river, and it was found from the Pharaoh, with the Pharaoh's daughter, and she kept the baby and she adopted. Moisés actually means the basket where the baby was. Until today, Moisés is the name that you call this basket where you carry babies. And that is another version of this story. So the baby was raised by the Pharaoh's daughter as her own, but he was actually a Jewish baby. So those are unofficial versions based in esoteric knowledge. Moses is one of the most prominent biblical characters in the Old Testament and also in the Torah. Its importance is linked to the freedom of God's people, the Hebrews, from the slavery in Egypt. So this book is inspired by spirits and tells the story of the fantastic events that preceded the exodus of the Jews to the promised land, Israel. In a clear language devoid of symbolism happens in the crazy descriptions of the biblical texts. In this book, the author introduces us to a Moses that is determined with focus, that has an incredible mental power to do what he's willing to. He's both also love and serene. He's got a striking personality, half divine, half human. He really haunted the pharaohs Ramses and Meneptah, that were his brothers according to the history, because he was raised as a kid of the pharaoh's daughter. I must add that there are two distinct parts to the Mosaic law. The law of God that was sent to him by Mount Sinai, and the civil or disciplinary law that was decreed by Moses. The first is unvariable, and the other was appropriate to the customs and the character of the people that was living back then 5,000 years ago as slaves. So there are the commandments. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is under the water in earth. Thou shalt not bow thou thyself them, or not serve them. That is clear. We don't have to adore images that we make ourselves what God was supposed to be. It doesn't matter if you call God him or her, she, he, or whatever. You shouldn't have an image to talk to God, because God is everywhere. It's also inside of yourself. If you want to talk to God, you don't have to go to a church or to a synagogue or to a mosque or anywhere. You can talk to God wherever you are, driving your car, sitting on a toilet, walking on the woods, in a cemetery, wherever you are, because God is everywhere. He created the cosmos which we are in. We are all children of God. We are all brothers and sisters. We all have the divine DNA. We are all equal to his eyes or to her eyes. We are all children of God. If you want to talk to God, just look to inside of yourself, close your eyes and do it. You don't need candles. You don't need to be in a special place. You don't need meditation to do that. You don't need to say words that you are reading. What really matters, your intention, what you have here in your heart, what you want to say. You can pray to God, to praise him, to ask for help, or to thank. We always remember to ask for something, but hardly ever to express our gratitude or to praise him. But remember to do that. Your relationship with God can begin right now. If you are a part of God, you can start now a relationship. Just close your eyes and say, hey, I'm here. I'm willing to feed this relationship and to develop in me that relationship with God. Second law, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. I swear to God, don't say that if you don't mean it. Number 3, respect the Shabbat. Respect the Saturday. We are now so involved in working and working and working. Some people are professional workaholics, and we are all the time at work with the telephone, always checking the emails and the messages and thinking. That happens more in America and Brazil. Here in Europe, I see that the people really take time to develop relationships, to be with their loved ones, to recharge and to be with themselves. But it's important to remember to take time to recharge, rejuvenate, refresh, and not be just working and working and working. Fourth law, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days might be long upon the land which the Lord thy God given thee. When was the last time that you spoke with your father or with your mother? I live in a different country than my mother, and my father has already passed away. He's made the transition. But I talk to them. My kids also live in other countries, and they call me every day. We see each other maybe twice a year or so, but we give ourselves attention. Did you make something that your father or your mother didn't approve? Apologize. Apologize. It's in one of the 10 commandments. Respect your mother and your father. That means also respect their memory if they are not still here, if they're not here anymore. Be the best that you can be so they would be proud of you when they are watching you from where they are. Improve as a human being. Call them and apologize if that is needed. Visit them. Don't let them feel lonely and forgotten. Do your best. Yes? Fifth law, thou shalt not kill. That is obvious. Obvious. Sometimes it can be tricky or difficult if you are in a land that you are called to war and you have to do it. But we can commit any mistake or any sins besides killing somebody else or killing yourself. Everything can be forgotten, everything can be forgiven, everything can be made up for, but not this. You should never kill somebody. Never ever. Number 6, thou shalt not commit adultery. Oh, that is not in fashion today. With the things the way they are, that is so easy to break. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Where does cheat begin? Here. Begins in giving attention to somebody else that is not your significant other. Why would you give more attention to a person that is not your spouse, which is not the person that you chose to live your life with? Why? Adultery is also send nudes online borderline cheating is also cheating. It is there in the 10 Commandments. If you do that, then it's gone. Then it's true. And if you don't admit and you don't realize the pain that you gave, I'm not even beginning to go into that. Number 7, thou shalt not steal. Of course, not steal. 8, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Not lying. Number 8, not envy somebody else's wife. Number wife, not envy their house, their servant, their anything that belongs to them. We should never envy anything that doesn't belong to us. That's obvious. And all these Moses laws are timeless. This can be in any language, in any religion. If you don't commit abuse to those laws, you are right. Doesn't matter what language, what religion, or what kind of people. You can resume it all into the golden rules. Confucius also said, don't do unto others what you don't want to be done to yourself. Justice, morality can change through times, but this never changes. If you respect those 2 commandments, respect God above everything, and your brother and your sister just like you wanted to be respected, then everything will be alright. Yes, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I don't think this book has any translation into English, but I hope one day it will happen. If you can read Portuguese, that's my tip for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Other than that, peace, much love, and namaste.